Lost Reavers is a Wii U exclusive, free to download, online only adventure hack and slash game. And even though the focus was mainly online co-op, the game played pretty much like any other hack and slash, so I instantly took a liking to it and decided I might as well record it. This was an error on my part, because the game requires absurd amounts of grinding before you can get from one set of levels to the next, and no normal human being or normal consumer would ever be able to see all of the content. It's not that the gameplay itself is broken or unfun or anything like that. It is fun, even if it's not above average, but the sheer soul-crushing amount of repetition involved in replaying the same mission dozens of times is just too much. But because I was more naive, this time I recorded a lot more than I did for Time Crisis 4, so I just spliced all of the videos I had ready together for you, so you can see what I compiled of this would-be Let's Play before I stopped working on it for the sake of my own sanity. Enjoy! Hello everyone and welcome to Lost Reavers, originally called Project Treasure. It's a downloadable only, online only, hack and slash third-person shooter. Right here I'm showing you some of the menus because we're never going to be looking at the menus ever again after this. Right here you can see that you can buy things with real money, but also in-game material known as medals, which you get from completing missions. Spending $20 on this game for extra weapons and stuff is a little bit excessive, but the grinding this game asks you to go through is more excessive. This is where we choose which mission we want to play. We have to create a room first, since this is an online game. Right now we only have 3 missions to choose from, and we're going to the very first. We can choose which kind of objective we have in mind. We want to play solo, because playing co-op in this game is kind of a hassle. And since it's really grind heavy, you don't want to waste any time. We're relatively low level, so there's not a lot we can do, but I did level up enough to get our first combo, this one right here, this 3-hit strike. The last hit deals a lot of damage. Previously it was only a 2-hit strike, and it wasn't very useful. There are a lot of obstacles with a timer that we have to stand in front of and hold the A button to unlock, or push out of the way, or basically there's just a lot of obstacles with a timer like that. In some rooms there are enemies that will spawn infinitely due to a generator core, or usually more than one. If we destroy them, it stops the enemies from spawning, but it also is usually one of the objectives we need to complete to move to the next room. We are a melee character. There are four characters to choose from. We are the expert melee character, according to the character select screen, so it's really easy just to hack away at everything with our axe, but we do have weapon durability to worry about over there in the bottom right corner. If our weapon durability goes all the way down, then our axe won't do shit for damage. There are a couple different routes through each level. In this route, we have to move a cabinet in order to get to the door in this room, which is just another obstacle with a timer. I am destroying these boxes because sometimes they have items that will give us more medals to purchase stuff, or more items that give us more RP, which adds to our experience. Our RP also determines our ranking at the end of the month, but I'm not very interested in that. The reason I'm using my shotgun to open the boxes is because we don't have much use for our shotgun yet. We will later. It will become an absolute asset later in the game, but when we're this early level, the enemies are also very weak, so using our shotgun is not very important. You may notice we can switch to an over-the-shoulder camera view like I did just there. I don't really care for that. I think aiming just by running straight up to the enemy and then pressing the trigger works fine. Obviously, the challenge with all these obstacles with timers is that zombies and other enemies will still run up to attack us while we're moving or unlocking whatever obstacle it is. So we have to get them off our back before we continue on. And the alternate route for this level, instead of moving a cabinet, you just have to destroy all the enemies in the area, which I think is a lot easier. Alright, here we are at the goal of the level, or not the goal, but the reason we came to the level in the first place. After we unlock both of these pads, a door will open to a relic. These relics give us a huge experience and RP boost, but since we're the only person playing, we don't really need to worry about who holds the relic. It's obviously going to be us. That attack where we thrust our axe, by the way, is our heavy attack. We can only do a one-hit combo with our heavy attack right now, but we can buy new combos that will fix that later. So in-universe, we're getting this relic to help humanity, because humanity has lost all of its non-renewable resources and the world is ruined and whatever. The scrolling text in the intro scrolled way too fast. But if it helps, in the original version of the game, Project Treasure, instead of a relic, it was just a big sack of gold. So just pretend it's that instead. So now we need to get the relic to the goal, and we can't attack or do anything else while we're holding the relic. We can still walk around most enemies as they move slower than us, thankfully. In order to actually leave, we're going to have to put the relic down and remove some more timer obstacles. Of course, we have this whole slew of zombies on our back while we're trying to do that. If you were playing this cooperatively, like I assume most people do, then one of you would be holding the relic and the rest of you would be trying to protect the individual with the relic. But since there's an option to play single player, you can totally just put the relic down, even when you are playing cooperatively. So that whole element of protecting the other player doesn't really need to come into play. On the other hand, it's, oh, by the way, while we're reloading, we can't attack or anything. We can buy an upgrade to fix that later, too. Anyway, whoever leaves the level with the relic gets the most experience points. So if someone does put the relic down, I guess there could be an element of competition when someone wants to grab the relic again. But most of the people who played this game, from my experience, seem content to just completely screw around and waste your time. And in a game where you spend hours upon hours grinding just so you can be strong enough to take on the next areas, it's not worth it. Maybe if you somehow got more experience for playing in co-op, but as it stands, the only thing you gain from co-op is more people to fight the enemies with. With co-op, there's less treasure to go around, only one of you gets to keep the relic, and, well, you know, depending on which people you're playing with, it may take a really long time. Anyway, after we dump the relic into the goal, we just have to wait 5 seconds, and then we can leave safely. Nobody can step in the goal to hurt us. Welcome to the Ancient Ruins, the second mission in Lost Reavers, at least the second mission of the first level of missions. Look, it's the second mission. And this room is another timer obstacle. We have to decrypt this ancient tablet while the mummies are trying to attack us. The mummies act pretty much exactly like the zombies, but they seem a bit more durable. Thankfully, since we are still early in the game, it doesn't take very long to decrypt this ancient tablet, and we can be on our way. Even though all of the obstacles in the ancient ruins are functionally the same, they're much more mystical in purpose than the ones from the research laboratory. Like in the research laboratory, we were just pushing a cabinet so we could move it out of the way. But here we're pushing an ancient statue because it opens a door. I mean, it's a really minor detail that the obstacles in the ancient tombs do more magical things than the ones in the research laboratory, but it's still a detail. So it deserves to be noted. Now we have to destroy the generator cores, which is also an objective we had in the research laboratory. The 3 generator cores are on the bottom floor, and the mummies and zombies will eventually come to the top floor to get you if you wait long enough, but there's no reason to wait. After all, it's not like the generator cores will also come to get you. You have to go and get those yourself. Later, it may be advisable to use your shotgun, if you're playing as this character, to take out the generator cores instead of your weapons to preserve your weapon's durability. But right now, our weapon durability isn't all that important. It will be in the third mission. That's actually the first mission where it is important at all. I mean, it depends on who you're playing with, but for our character, the third mission is going to be the wake-up mission that we need to actually pay attention to our durability. After we destroy the generator cores, a column raises in the middle, and we can go around the goal in the center of the column to grab items on the outside, but we didn't do that this time. This place may look slightly familiar, and that's because the relic is in here. This is just what rooms with relics in them look like. As always, we need to keep the mummies and zombies off our backs while we're, or skeletons in this case, I believe it is, while we're decoding or decrypting or whatever it is, but it's really not too difficult yet. It'll get more so in later levels when there are more enemies that spawn, and of course they're tougher. And there will also be 4 keypads instead of just 2. But we'll worry about that later. The music here may seem generic, but I think it's reasonably good to listen to, even if it is generic. I mean, it's not offensive, and it's low-key enough that it doesn't really get obnoxious when you replay the level a lot, which is gonna happen. Those green circles, by the way, that appear around the relic, I did not know this for a long period of time because I just never bothered to check, but those actually heal you. They do heal you fully, but they also only heal you once, so it's not like you can come back if you get into trouble. It also doesn't refill your weapon durability, so depending on exactly how much you have left to go before the level ends, you might be in trouble either way. So here's our hazard right before we reach the goal. It is entirely possible to just walk right past these pendulums. But because I felt like it, instead we're going to come over here and disable the pendulums. Now, this is definitely what you're supposed to do. You and your partners are supposed to work on disabling all the pendulums so the guy with the relic can make it through. But this is entirely unnecessary when you can just walk around them. However, the pendulums and other hazards in this game do deal a lot more damage than normal enemy attacks, as you're about to see. Or rather, as you just saw. I would say it's good that if you, for some reason, don't have the hand-eye coordination, that they give you an option to disable the pendulums. But there's a later level with these pendulums where you don't get the option to disable them. You just have to make it through using your reflexes. To be fair, in the second example, one of you isn't holding the relic, so maybe they thought carrying the relic just made that much of a difference. Which it definitely does not, just to be clear. Even with the relic, you move faster than every enemy in Hazard, except for the enemy that charges at you, but we haven't seen that enemy type yet. But he's really the only threat. After we deactivate this last pendulum, some health pickups will appear, which is nice, I guess, but this is the end of the level, so you're probably good. In later levels of this archetype, enemies usually flood the last hallway, but not so this time. Alright, it's finally time for the wake-up call mission, where things start to get a little bit difficult. We're going to be using our shotgun a pretty decent amount in this level, because we really want to conserve our weapon's durability. The enemies in this one are not like the zombies from the research laboratory, unlike the first two missions. These guys have their own unique movesets, and their own unique dangers. I mean, the tiny gremlin demons aren't much of a danger, but the guys with the spears are, because they have quite a bit of range on them, more than our axe does. But we also still seem to attack faster. Not that it matters since we're using our shotgun, but... Actually, they probably have significantly less range than the heavy attack from our axe, but that doesn't matter, because again, we're using our shotgun. And even though it's taking a while, it's much better than wasting our weapon durability this early. Because this is the first level with a mini-boss in it. And yes, our gun also has limited ammunition that we cannot refill during the stage, but it's better to waste that ammo than to waste our axe. We will upgrade our gun a significant amount before the next set of levels, but for now we're just going to have to make do. These guys are a little too close, so I'm going to have to use a heavy attack. But 2 for 1 isn't so bad. We just can't keep doing that all the time. For the second objective, they introduced probably the most irritating enemy in the game. These blue flames move faster than you, and as soon as they catch up to you, they swing at you. But you can always dodge right before they swing. So when I say irritating, I don't mean that irritating. It's just a matter of figuring out when they attack, like, you know, any other hack-and-slash action game. If you approach the combat in this game with the same mindset you would any other action game, then it's a lot easier. But you have to keep in mind that grinding is still a huge factor either way. Also, the blue flames do not take very many hits to go down, but since they can regenerate, it's probably best if we destroy the cores and ignore them. So in this room, there are a variety of timer obstacles, but only one of them is real. Only one of them actually unlocks the door, and if we get our guess wrong, then more enemies spawn. It's completely randomized each time you enter this room, so there's no way to know which of these obstacles is the real one. Thankfully, they don't take very long to decrypt. But you better be really good at running away from enemies. Because if you keep getting it wrong, then you'll have an entire small army after you by the time you're finally done with this room. Thankfully, this final one is, well, the final one. And now we can leave. The next room is where we'll get the relic, and it does look exactly like every other room with the relic in it. It even has those same 2 keypads, which are inexplicably in every ancient place we've been to. I mean, you would figure that in ancient Egyptian tombs or in ancient Japanese demon castles that they wouldn't have all this modern technology, and there wouldn't be, you know, demonic spirits protecting said modern technology. But maybe there's some really cool shit going on here story-wise, and I just don't know what it is yet. Maybe they have this really sweet plot twist planned at the very end, whenever they finally stop making levels and forcing people to grind so much. Whenever they do make an actual end to the game, if that ever occurs, maybe they have this huge grand finale planned. You reach level 100 and the best final boss ever happens, and it's all worth all that 20, 30, 40, 100, 200 hours you spent grinding to get there. Possibly more than that, maybe 1,000 hours. The relic is free, and now all we have to do is drag it to the goal. But there's actually most of the challenges on the way to the goal this time, instead of on the way to the relic. I did tell you that we'd see the first mini-boss around here. In spite of this room having a pretty cool layout compared to what we've seen so far, it's not all that different from any of the other missions, well, not missions, objectives where you've had to destroy the generator cores. There is notably an enemy with a rifle in this room, and he can be a huge pain. But aside from that, we just need to destroy all the generator cores. We can push these boulders down if we want to. And the idea is that they'll kill enemies coming up the steps, but the enemies will already reach you by the time you push the boulders down, so... Well, I guess they're not steps, they're more slopes. Anyway. Even after we destroy the last generator core, we still have to go back and get the relic. Which is going to be harder than I anticipated here, because the rifle guy will shoot us because we don't walk fast enough to avoid his bullets while we're holding the relic. As a result, I do take a small amount of damage, but it doesn't really matter, because if we get hit by the mini-boss even a couple of times, we die anyway. This is a lot less harsh in co-op mode, where you can revive each other, but in single player, you're just on your own, and if you get hit a couple of times, you're down. I can't really blame the game for this, since it is meant to be played in co-op. But you're also meant to grind for hours upon hours upon hours, and I can blame the game for that. Here I make the decision to push the boulders anyway just because I can, and you can see it does absolutely nothing, which is what you should have expected. There are a lot of baskets and barrels lying around with health, thankfully, but I still get shot by the riflemen trying to pick up the relic anyway. It is possible, by the way, to achieve lag even if you are playing in single player, because you're still online. This was somewhat a source of frustration to me while I was trying to record, because it's really obnoxious that even though I'm playing alone, I still have to worry about lag issues. And in a game like this, which is essentially just a regular action game, but online, it makes the satisfying feedback you normally get from playing just completely vanish. I mean, I can handle frame drops, but lag is another beast entirely. Lag is something that causes your weapon to swing right through the enemy but not cause damage, or cause you to teleport across the room because it interpreted your movements later than you actually input them. Thankfully, you're not going to see any of this, because I wouldn't keep a recording where any of those issues were prevalent. Alright, it's time to face the demonic ninja. But before we do that, we're going to bust open some boxes and look for health or durability refills. And then we're going to take out the demonic ninja's minions before we hit him directly. Trying to fight him while he's still surrounded by his minions will result in nearly instant death. The demonic ninja has a surprising amount of attacks, by which I mean like 3. One of them doesn't deal very much damage to us, so if he uses that one we shouldn't worry too much, but we can't exactly control which he pulls out. Even though he's faster than a lot of the other mini-bosses, and I think has more attacks, he is much easier to stun lock. To be fair, I think how well you stagger an enemy is directly related to how strong your weapon is and what level you are. And it only takes an hour, maybe an hour and a half to reach level 10, which is the minimum level I would say for actually fighting the demonic ninja. So that's not so bad. He still has way too much health for my liking, but we are playing in single player in a primarily co-op experience, so that's to be expected. If we had other people here, his health would drain much faster. But yes, even though he does attack fast, when you actually start getting on the offensive, it's very easy to stun him this way. The rest of this fight is basically just going to be mashing the main attack button. Now, if we hadn't gotten rid of his minions, this tactic would be impossible because we'd be getting hit in the back the whole time. But thankfully, that's not an issue anymore. And we have plenty of durability. Look at that durability. It's way up there. We made good decisions in this level. Lots of good decisions. The demonic ninja is not making very good decisions right now, but maybe he's incapable of doing that. Well, this is a poopy situation right here. If we wait long enough, more enemies will spawn, because we didn't kill the demonic ninja as fast as the game wanted us to. But it shouldn't be too hard to get rid of them. I mean, the blue flame is already dead. It would really suck if we lost here. But it should be just one more combo, and then the demonic ninja will fall. Yep, there we go. Alright, now it's mostly a clear shot to the goal. So we're going to grab the relic and book it.
it?
Alright, welcome to the first level in the second tier of levels, which we only unlocked after we reached level 15. We're level 20 now, we have a second sword, and we have a new combo. By second sword, I mean a new sword. You can see our axe has been replaced with something that looks a lot weirder, but also a lot cooler. Anyway, the new combo I'm referring to is that our heavy attack now has a second possible hit to it. This is very good because it can kill some enemies instantly and it deals massive damage. It hits them in the air after we knock them over with our first heavy blow. Anyway, we're coming down here to remove this hidden obstacle, so that way we don't have to do it later after we get the relic, because that would take a while and it would be a pain. You may have already noticed that this level belongs to the same archetype as the research laboratory where we started the game at. It is a lot different in layout, though, as I'm sure you've also noticed. I am doing a bit of a little dance with the zombies here, because I want to unlock this thing in the least amount of time possible. And we also really need to save up our weapon durability again, because there's another mini-boss in this level. In spite of being slower than the demonic ninja, this one's going to be harder because he can't stagger as easily. Anyway, it's time to go get the relic, which is actually on the opposite side of the room. We just have to move something out of the way to get access to the doorway. As I already said, it is perfectly possible to come this way, get the relic, and then go and remove the hidden obstacle later, but that would take longer because you have the relic with you. This room is a bit crowded considering you have to unlock a door while you're in here, but at the very least it doesn't take as long as decrypting something. But yeah, that second attack on our heavy combo is a tiny bit of a game changer, but there's something else that's much better for us that we'll get to in a bit. Because the new sword and new combo aren't the only things that we've unlocked since last time. So in this tier of missions, there are 4 keypads instead of just 2. And each time you decrypt one of the keypads, or whatever it is we're supposed to be doing here, each time you unlock one of these, more enemies spawn. So what we're going to do is nearly unlock all of them, and then quickly run through and finish unlocking all of them in a matter of seconds. So yeah, we're cheesing it, but that's okay, because otherwise this would be really frustrating.
That was lame. Let's go!
Alright, now we've got the relic, but just like the ancient demon castle, most of the challenge takes place on the way to the goal. Since we already removed the hidden obstacle last time we were in here, we can just scoot on through the door instead of having to worry about that. We've got a couple zombies on our tail, but we're going to use our cunning and wits to outmaneuver them. It's a game of smarts, you see. Now, the 2 doors we're heading through right now, or, well, the 2 doors we'll be heading through in a moment, were not unlocked until we removed the hidden obstacle. So we'd have to put the relic down, jump through the window, unlock the hidden obstacle, and then come back to get the relic. Granted, I put the relic down anyway so I could smash these crates that I forgot to smash on the way through. Any items we get will help us get more experience points, but you're never going to see me level up, so you shouldn't worry about that anyway. By the way, I've said, you might have forgotten by now, but I've said that each level has 2 potential routes. We can enter this stage from a different area entirely and fight a different mini-boss, but the tactic for fighting him is exactly the same. In this room, we just have to unlock the door, and there are enemies that will try to hit us while we do so, but they're enemies with projectile attacks only, and their projectile attacks miss a lot. So, oh god. Hey, it's one of those running enemies we haven't seen yet. They are pretty much literally the worst. Anyway, we need to preserve our weapon durability, so for this next challenge, we're going to be using our gun to destroy as many enemies as possible. Now, our gun has gotten reasonably stronger since the last time you saw it. It's not a different gun, but it still doles out a lot of damage, capable of killing most enemies in a single shot. This not only makes it the ideal way to kill enemies quickly, but the ideal way to preserve our weaponry for enemies that aren't going to go down with 20 or so shotgun rounds. Anyway, that other upgrade I mentioned that we got, it's the quick reload. It allows us to reload our shotgun in the middle of any combo, like this. It's really sweet. It's much, much faster than reloading the traditional way, and it means you never really have to stop shooting. Something I rather like about it is that instead of pressing the reload button in the middle of a combo to use it, you have to tug back on the control stick, and that's what triggers the quick reload. It may seem weird, but it gives you a lot more feedback than just pressing the reload button. So don't let anyone tell you there aren't nuances to the game design, but you might have to play for 4 hours or so before those nuances appear, is all. No one said it was ideal, but it technically exists, so, you know. Anyway, that red flag marker you see on screen right now would lead us to the big boss, which we are in no shape for. We are definitely not prepared to fight something like that yet. And even if we were prepared to fight it, or we miraculously won, it would drop more relics, which we would need to carry individually to the goal. Oh my god, the running enemy. Which we would need to carry individually to the goal, which would take forever. It would certainly give us a huge boost in experience points, but there's no way that we would even win against the boss yet. Instead, we're just going to go the normal route and fight the normal mini-boss. If this game doesn't seem so bad, or this level doesn't seem so bad, I need you to remember that if you played this, you would be replaying this level over a dozen times. Well over a dozen times. Probably well over 24 times. And people insist the microtransactions make it go faster, or that's what they're for. I don't think people have used the microtransactions because they don't make you level up faster. Anyway, this is the mini-boss, the Undead Chef. He has 2 attacks. He can stab us with his knife, or he can throw his knife. We don't want him to throw his knife, because he's incredibly accurate with that. The idea here is that he tries to stab us, he misses, and then we run around and hit him in the butt. And we just keep doing that. It's safer to hit him while he's down, but you don't want to use your combo excessively while he's standing up, because if that knife hits you, over half your health will leave you. And I mean, it's a lot over half, like 3/4 of your health. Anyway, the reason we're not dealing with his minions before fighting him is because, as I said, he can throw his knife with incredible accuracy, and we would surely die while trying to get rid of his minions. Thankfully, our new heavy attack combo makes this fight a lot easier, because it is quick, and it deals a lot of damage, and is capable of knocking him over. Sometimes. I'm surprised we still have so much durability, because heavy attacks take away a lot of durability. But I guess we were adequately prepared. Anyway, now with the mini-boss gone, we just have to make our way directly to the goal. It's all over. I mean, we do have to evade zombies on the way to the goal, but we move faster than all of them except for one, so... But yeah, looking at this level and commentating over it, it actually seems kind of fun. But then I remember that I had to replay these levels so many times, and all fun and life was just completely sucked out of the equation. If you would just level up at a reasonable pace, then this game would be so much better, and I would have finished it by now. Welcome to the new Ancient Ruins level, and this has the pendulums I was talking about that you just have to run through. No way to turn these ones off. Pretty basic timing will get you through just fine, though, and in this room, we have to find the hidden obstacle. Only one of these is the real one, but we found it right away. Every time you guess wrong, more enemies spawn, but since we guessed right immediately, no enemies spawn, which works out fine for us. And now the poison water, or whatever that was, has lowered, so we get access to the second obstacle, which we don't need to guess. There's just one of these. You might notice an insect enemy, but we're not going to talk about it yet. We'll talk about those when they appear in greater numbers. For now, all you need to know is that they can be knocked over with our heavy attack like almost every other enemy in the game. And again, I find myself doing a little dance with the enemies because I don't feel like fighting all of them, and we really need to preserve our weapon durability for another mini-boss. I guess that's something you can say about this game, is that although it is a hack and slash, the main goal is not to hack and slash at things. If anything, you want to hack and slash as little as possible, because you need to save your weapon durability for rooms where you actually do have to fight stuff. Here's a room that is very similar, dare I say identical to one in the first Ancient Ruins mission, but this time there's a mini-boss here, the Skeleton King. It's in our best interest to eliminate the generator cores so the enemies will stop spawning before we fight the Skeleton King, because there are 3 generator cores and we will be swamped. Not to mention, as I just demonstrated, the normal enemies can very easily stun us. So trying to fight the Skeleton King while those guys are on our back is not going to work out, even if the Skeleton King himself isn't very tough. He still has a whole lot of health after all. It's not like we can just walk up and hit him a couple of times. You know, it's kind of funny, in this room in the first iteration, you had to destroy all the generator cores, but in the second iteration, you have to destroy all the generator cores anyway, if you want to have a chance of fighting the mini-boss. Or, well, this time we don't have to destroy all of them, just the 2 on the bottom floor, because inexplicably one of them is on the top floor, where the enemies that spawn will take forever to reach you and can't really do much. Actually, according to the minimap, there are 2 on the top floor, but that doesn't matter, because things have now reached a manageable level. And after we destroy these skeletons indirectly while we're trying to swipe at the Skeleton King, it will take forever for any newly spawned enemies to reach us. So the Skeleton King is kind of like the Undead Butcher. He will stab his staff at us by swinging it straight down, but he also has a secondary attack, which is a 2-hit combo. The 2-hit combo is not nearly as deadly as the stab, but both of them leave him open to attack. He does not have any projectile attacks, unlike the other mini-bosses we've seen up to this point. All he can do is swing his staff at us, which is weird because it's a staff. You figure it could do magic? After his health gets really, really low, he will teleport away for his own safety, and then proceed to walk toward us, which kind of defeats the purpose of teleporting away. We're supposed to go find him each time he teleports, but if we wait long enough, he'll find us. Still, actively searching for him goes faster, so we're going to take that option. Alright, now that the Skeleton King's dead, we can proceed forward, and although this room was identical to one we've already seen, the rest of them are unique. And the Skeleton King's teleporting gimmick would actually be kind of cool if he used it right. In this next room, the goal seems simple. We just have to destroy the generator cores, but we also have to deal with plumes of fire that appear after we destroy the first couple of generator cores. There are 2 areas where we will have to potentially contend with fire. This is one of them, but you might notice the fire's not here, and that's because the game seems to randomly decide which of the 2 areas will actually have the fire in it. Sometimes it's the right area, sometimes it's the left area, sometimes it is neither area, sometimes it is both areas. It's very strange. I suppose this is to add to the replayability of the level, but it's such a small difference. And I doubt anyone is going to go, phew, that's a relief, I only have to disarm 1 fire trap this time. Or, oh man, this is so much more challenging, now I have to disarm 2 fire traps. It's not that quantity doesn't matter, but because of the way this room is laid out, it's very easy to disarm the fire traps before the mummies even reach you. Sometimes they'll get lucky and round the corner right as we're about to finish, which I believe happens this time. But it's not like it's challenging in any fashion. You just knock them down and then continue on disarming the trap. It is very fun that we can now destroy the generator cores with only 3 shots of our shotgun. I mean, I guess you didn't see when we couldn't do that because I cut out all of the grinding for your sanity and mine. But, anyway, here are the insect enemies. They have very underwhelming attacks and very underwhelming patterns. The only really interesting thing about them is that their AI sometimes completely screws up and they forget to hit you entirely. Considering how simplistic the AI in this game is, I wouldn't say that's a ringing endorsement of the development team. Here we are in the relic room, and we're going to put this card key down, because using it would immediately unlock one of these keypads, and we don't want that. So to find something to talk about while we're doing this, I don't actually know who developed this game. Everywhere I look claims it's Bandai Namco Games. And it is, but Bandai Namco has multiple studios. The problem is that they don't appear to give their studios different names. So it seems impossible to know which team worked on which game, because they're all listed under Bandai Namco Games. I don't know if this was some B team that was just added, and if this was the B team's first game, or if this game was made by veterans at Bandai Namco Games, or what. I have no idea. I can theorize about other things surrounding development, like I'm pretty sure Bandai Namco really likes Nintendo, and that's why it's a Wii U exclusive. But, I have no idea about anything else. I will say that it's not exactly a good thing when your console is lacking in exclusives, and this is one of them, because although this is not the worst game I've ever played, it's not friendly to the normal consumer, not even a little bit. It may be friendly to action game veterans, but it's also got a lot of weird quirks, like the way it forces you to grind over and over and over and over, and the strange focus on disarming traps instead of actually fighting enemies, which seems to have confused a lot of the people I played with. And in spite of the game having weird quirks like that, you can't exactly say it oozes creativity. I don't think anybody can claim that. So the game is both not friendly to the average consumer and not very creative. And it's one of your exclusives on a console with very few of those. I mean, on the Wii, Bandai Namco offered Nintendo Munchables, and that's weird and creative, and that's a situation where I would look at that game and go, hey, maybe the Wii has some stuff on it that I would like. But with the Wii U, if you're not swayed by first-party Nintendo games, then you're not going to be buying a Wii U. Alright, the relic is finally free, so I can stop rambling now. And it's actually a very short jog to the goal from here.
Got it.
Thankfully, the only objective we have to complete on our way to the goal is to defeat a few enemies. And although our weapon durability will not survive the entire conflict, taking out a few insects is well within our ability. Also, these bigger red insects can block our attacks. In case you're wondering what happens exactly when we run out of weapon durability, our weapon just deals way less damage. Now, this isn't that big a deal for normal enemies. It may take a lot longer to kill them, but, you know, you can still kill them reasonably. But for many bosses, this is not acceptable. You'd be here for so long. But after this, that wraps up this level. It's kind of a shame I had to play for like 5 hours to get to this point, so that way you could see, what, 5 levels of gameplay? But, I mean, that's part of the game.